Someone seems very unhappy about Spider-Man 4, or Spider-Man Brand New Day. I don't know what there would be to criticize, but I'm all ears.
So, a casting rumor for Spider-Man 4 has been making the rounds, and if it's true, we might be in for a woke disaster.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
So, Spider-Man 4 in my eyes was already dead on arrival. Tom Holland has never played Spider-Man correctly, not in one film.
What exactly is bad about the actor himself? He's done a great job playing the character in these movies.
All of which, might I add, are terrible. And on top of the fact that Tom Holland just plain sucks, you have this story here, where Sadie Sink joins Tom Holland in next Spider-Man movie. The thing is, she's not playing MJ. You know the character who she actually looks like? Peter Parker's wife, Mary Jane Watson, the redhead.
So, the movie is woke because Sadie Sink didn't play the character you wanted her to? Alright, man.
Not Zendaya, some ugly black chick who looks like a teenage boy from the slums.
You need to come up with a better definition of woke because the only standard you've set thus far is that you don't like the person's looks.
So they're just rubbing their noses in it. The fact that this actress actually looks like Mary Jane Watson, but is not being given the role. So I'm already out after that.
Okay, but Zendaya has already taken the role of MJ in the trilogy, and maintaining continuity means you have to stand by that. You're blaming this film for something that was already established, and you didn't even explain what was so bad about it.
But this news story just gets worse. So you come over here to this article. Spider-Man 4 villain, non-binary, trans, and uses pronouns. So what the rumor actually says is that the villain of Spider-Man 4 will be the Chameleon, or some sort of take on the Chameleon, as the character just appeared in Kraven, which I didn't really watch, but I've heard it was absolute dog crap. So apparently the Spider-Man 4 villain won't be called specifically Chameleon, but will go by another name because the character is using pronouns.
Keep in mind that this is a rumor about what might happen and not an actual verification, and he's arguing that Spider-Man Brand New Day will be woke propaganda.
So let me just dive into everything that's wrong about that for retards out there who just try to talk about movies and argue but don't actually read the comics. Some normies might be watching going, who the hell is the Chameleon? Well, the Chameleon is Spider-Man's first ever villain. Yeah, that's right. It's not the Vulture or Sandman or Dr. Octopus. It was the Chameleon. Obviously the legendary character of Spider-Man and the masterpiece run by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko started in Amazing Fantasy number 15. But in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 1, we got the introduction of the Chameleon. And just like every story in the Lee and Ditko run, everybody should be reading this comic if you call yourself a comic book fan. But basically, here's the funny part that debunks the whole argument of superheroes have always been woke. So Spider-Man's first ever issue, the villain, the Chameleon, he's not just some guy who puts on a disguise and dresses up as other people. The guy is a communist. Plot twist of the story is the fact that there's been a communist submarine spying on the United States.
I don't understand your point here. Are you implying that the MCU version wouldn't have done the same thing to stop this guy? The same version that tries to prevent wars between criminal organizations by getting weapons off the streets? I suppose it's hard to put MCU Spider-Man in this situation considering it was in the 1960s when the Cold War was still happening.
And Spider-Man, like every great hero, tracks down this scumbag, hits him with a right hook, and calls him a commie. So take your whole argument of superheroes have always been woke and left-leaning and shove it up your ass. Spider-Man just punched a communist in the face.
That doesn't prove Spider-Man wouldn't stand up for people in the face of social injustices, which is what I assume people mean when they say Spider-Man has always been woke. It's on you to prove that this is against his character, which you're not going to be successful in because the reason Spider-Man started helping people in the first place is because the last time he decided it wasn't his problem, his uncle died.
I could do a whole video on how much I love that original Lee and Ditko run. I believe that there should be a new movie or TV show made in the style of that comic. Almost like a period piece back in the 60s. You could even put it into black and white or something. Making it like an old school horror movie where Spider-Man is this fantastical monster that is feared by the public. But that could be an entire different video about how good this run actually is. But for now, let's stick with the fact that a big studio is willing to have the balls to come in and change Spider-Man's first villain to be some non-binary freak.
Okay, let's put your standard into practice. You think that MCU Chameleon is a non-binary freak. I don't know why being non-binary makes you a freak, but okay, that's your position here. You just praised the original comics because Spider-Man fought a communist. So, if this movie will have Spider-Man fighting what you call a non-binary freak, then how is this woke by your standard? Isn't this technically what you wanted?
Now, it could be worse. Spider-Man himself could be non-binary. But why are we even doing this? What's the point of it in the movie?
I don't know. Why is this a bad thing? How does this take away from the story?
Instead of being an evil communist that Spider-Man has to take down,
This isn't the Cold War era.
the villain now uses pronouns, and we're probably gonna have to sympathize with the villain some point in the movie.
Which is not unheard of in well-written stories. One of the best Spider-Man movies has you feeling sympathetic for Otto Octavius. Is that bad writing to you now?
To be honest with you, I don't think that this movie could sound any worse. We have a perfectly good actress who could play MJ, yet she's not. And then we also have a villain who's non-binary and using pronouns. This reminds me of X-Men 97, where they changed Morph, a character who appeared like for just a couple of episodes in the original Masterpiece cartoon. They made the character non-binary for absolutely no reason. And you wanna know why? Because X-Men 97 was created by a literal gay black dude who just wanted to put his politics into the story.
And by your own standard, if they were to cast Sadie Sink as MJ because of your political beliefs against wokeness, that's also implementing politics into their story decisions. Making Chameleon a communist is implementing politics in itself, which you just said was a good thing. So, what's your actual standard for implementing politics?
He wanted Wolverine and Morph to have a kind of weird relationship, and he wanted characters to be non-binary. You are a freak. You don't belong anywhere near X-Men. And whoever's making this decision about the Chameleon does not belong anywhere near Spider-Man.
You have yet to make a single argument for why any of those choices damaged the story.
Call me a gatekeeping, elitist, basement dweller all you want, but I think that the fans should stand up and say no to whatever the hell they're trying here. This could just be a rumor, because actually do the math and think about it. Why would Marvel Studios, owned by some pretty shady characters who like to inject stuff into their stories, why would they put a trans, non-binary, pronoun using freak as the villain? So this could just be a rumor that doesn't turn out to be true, which I'm hoping for.
So why are you insisting that this movie will be woke propaganda? Where are the propaganda elements? Where are they crafting a narrative to deceive people or convince them of bad ideas? Again, you've given no arguments for this.
But who knows, they might still try it. People love tying it back all the time to one thing that Stan Lee wrote in the 70s about equality and how he didn't think about the colour of people's skin. Now obviously Stan was living in this utopian world where he wanted everybody to be equal, and in real life it doesn't really work out that way.
His point is that it should work out that way. And the point of people bringing this up is that he's literally implementing his own politics into the comics, despite people like you acting like this is a new thing.
Because you can love everybody and not care about the colour of their skin, but they do care about the colour of yours.
I take one look at your channel and you seem really obsessed with skin color.
But people who argue for woke crap like this love using that and saying that Stan Lee was always woke and superheroes were always big monoliths of liberalism. In reality, I think that Stan Lee and every other great comic creator like Steve Ditko or Jack Kirby would be turning in their graves if they saw what was happening to the characters that they once created.
Well, why don't we hear Stan Lee's thoughts on Tom Holland's Spider-Man?
He will go down as one of our best Spider-Men. Everything about him is perfect. The way he looks, the way he acts, speaks, his athletic ability, naturally. The man is perfect.
You're perfect. With giving the
I know.
respect pin.
Thank you.
The
Let's
respect
go.
pin is so awesome. And I love that you did that for the whole world.
Well, the respect pin is very important to me. If we can get the blacks and the whites to come together, that would do so much, in this country especially, and that's what I'm after.
I was also curious about what this respect pin was about because I felt it might be relevant to what's being said. Turns out it is, because he literally went out of his way to launch a respect pin in the face of racial injustices in America. Two hands, black and white, clasped in a friendly handshake under the word respect, signifying unity to inspire mutual respect for all. Is that too woke for you as well?
Stan Lee and Steve Ditko back on issue 1. Hey, Spider-Man's first villain, he's just gonna be an evil communist that the kid has to take down. Imagine if they saw what was happening right now, where that villain is being transformed into a vehicle for political allegory.
If the Chameleon was written to be a communist, then he was already written as a political allegory, whether you like it or not. You keep ignoring the context of the time this was released because the Cold War was still happening in the 1960s.
Movies and comic books are both entertainment businesses. You can put in a message and you can put in politics every once in a while if it fits into the story.
How do you know if this alleged decision with Chameleon won't fit into the story? The idea in question is just an idea, Execution is another story, a story we haven't seen yet because the film doesn't release for another year.
But first of all, the first priority is entertainment.
Which is entirely subjective, so using this point regarding what objectively qualifies as propaganda is unwise.
And I don't know about you, but seeing freaky non-binary people...
So, you don't have an argument outside of not liking non-binary people. Riveting take.
Cocked, weak Tom Holland.
You don't know how his character will be portrayed in this movie. Why are you assuming he'll be a weak character?
And ugly Zendaya is not entertainment.
I don't need to be attracted to a character to enjoy a character.
And really, I'm not complaining about nothing here. Every week there's a new race swap or gender swap or new piece of crap that I can talk about. It's not like I'm reaching super far to find this crap.
And yet none of the reasons you've just listed qualify as any form of propaganda or damage to the story.
All you have to do is look around and it's everywhere. And therein lies the deeper problem, which I can't really get into, but it's why is this everywhere?
If you can't qualify a problem, then I have no incentive to take the complaint seriously.
Why is this in every movie or comic or book? And more importantly, who is putting it there? But obviously that's a conversation that most people can't really handle. Most likely will never be able to.
I would love to have this conversation if you're interested in doing a stream, because at no point did you actually highlight any propagandist elements that we can actually pull from.
So that's why we have to keep on attacking these pieces of crap and rejecting it. Because every normie out there who goes to watch a Marvel movie isn't going to know about the deep politics and a sinister motive behind this.
You didn't give us a sinister motive to begin with. You just accused the film of being woke propaganda, didn't highlight any examples of propaganda, and made thin complaints about how a character could be non-binary, how you don't like Tom Holland's Spider-Man being weak, and you don't find Zendaya attractive. Please explain the sinister motivation and where in your story does this take place.
But they're gonna know that they don't want to see some non-binary person in their Spider-Man movie.
I can assure you, most people aren't going to care that a Spider-Man villain goes by they-them pronouns. I mean, people can handle a villain that goes by we-us pronouns. So it sounds to me like you're just fear-mongering.
Screw people who like and defend everything like this. Bring back the age where heroes were right and morally good.
You haven't given a single example of Spider-Man not being morally good.
And the bad guys were truly evil and did bad things.
How do you know the chameleon won't do bad things in the film? Did you watch it?
Oh, because you're from the future.
Not this blurred grey morality crap that we're facing now. Well, what is this new movie gonna be? It's gonna be Spider-Man, the hero, fighting a non-binary person who is also kind of the hero.
You're pulling this out of your ass. Nowhere is it confirmed that the chameleon will be any kind of hero. Since when has this been true for any MCU Spider-Man villain? The Vulture and Mysterio remained as bad guys for their entire plotlines. Mysterio especially, who revealed Peter's identity to the world. What are you talking about?
Where in the original comic, it was a communist who wanted to take over America and spy on its citizens. The funny part is, they can't actually put that in the movie because that's what they're doing to you.
They're not putting that in the movie because the Cold War ended fucking decades ago. Do you know your history?
I know, I might sound like a nut job, but why would they put in a villain into the movie of a communist who wants to put Marxist ideas into people's heads? Because that's what they're doing in real life.
Or because the Cold War fucking ended decades ago, so it wouldn't make sense to adapt something that was written based on its time.
And as long as just a few people notice that and reject it, then there might truly be hope going forward in the future. So this was a little bit of a rant, but if you did agree with anything I said, do let me know and maybe consider subscribing. And if you got a frelling problem, go complain to your boyfriend.
I'd rather dish it out to your face, but it sounds like you're not man enough to take it. You see, stuff like this is why I can't take anti-woke YouTubers seriously. You give them an ounce of scrutiny and questioning, and their position falls apart. Asking for a basic citation or backed up reasoning is an immediate takedown of most of these points. He built his entire premise around a rumor that he heard on the internet.
Oh, you saw the video on the internet. Well, then the case is closed.
That's all I gotta say for now. See you later.